Hello, my name is Vera Bergman. I'm 55 years old, and the story I'm about to tell you covers the darkest and yet most empowering period of my life. I'll never forget that night. When the cash register lock clicked open in my trembling hands, I felt something inside me about to break. The numbers in front of me were a nightmare. But unfortunately, they were real. $15,000 was missing. I sat alone in the back office of Bergman's Café and Bakery. Outside, autumn rain hammered against the windows while the clock had long passed midnight. I've been running this business for 45 years. My husband Heinrich and I built this little world from nothing, and I know the accounting of every penny, every invoice, every order, every income and expense. But now something was terribly, terribly wrong. I went through the ledgers again and again. The records were correct. The money physically wasn't there. This wasn't a simple accounting error. Someone had accessed my register and taken my money, and I knew who it was. David, my only son, my 40-year-old baby. No, Vera, I whispered to myself. David would never do such a thing. But that voice inside me, that voice mothers instinctively know, was telling me something else. And that's when I realized nothing would ever be the same again. It all started 3 months ago. I was making my cherry strudel in the kitchen. You know, my famous recipe. My hands were covered in flour when the phone rang. Mom, it's me, David. My face lit up when I heard my son's voice. But there was something in his tone. A tension. Mothers sense these things. Darling, how are you? I'm fine, Mom. I'm calling to give you some good news. He paused. My heart raced. Sarah and I are getting married. Oh my God. At that moment, tears welled up in my eyes. David, that's wonderful news. When? Where? I'll immediately... Mom, wait. His voice had changed. It had grown cold. The wedding will be small. Very small. Just close family and friends. Of course, darling, I said, smiling. And I'm close family, right? There was an odd silence on the phone. I heard a woman's voice in the background. Sarah's voice. But I couldn't make out what she was saying. Mom, the thing is... Look. David's voice grew increasingly tense. Our budget is very tight. Sarah's family is large and the venue capacity... Wait a minute. Was I misunderstanding? David, I said slowly, are you talking about money? If you need money? No! The harshness in his voice shocked me so much that my hand trembled. I mean, no, Mom. It's not about money. It's just complicated. Very complicated. And then that moment came. That terrible, unbelievable moment. Are you not inviting me to your wedding? Silence. I'm not saying I'm not inviting you, but the ceremony. It's only open to very close people. Maybe you can come to the reception. Very close people. These were the most painful words I'd heard in my 55 years of life. I gave birth to this child. I raised him alone. After his father died, I worked 2 jobs to cover his college expenses. And now I wasn't very close. I understand, I said. My voice was so calm that even I was surprised. Whatever you want. I hung up. I returned to my dough, but I couldn't see anymore. Tears had blurred everything. A week after the wedding, they came to the cafe. I saw Sarah for the first time. Now Sarah Bergman, of course. 28 years old, long brown hair, elegant yet possessing a cold beauty. She worked at a design firm, she said. I never really understood exactly what she did, but it must have been important because she was constantly busy with her phone. You look beautiful, Sarah, I said sincerely. How was the wedding? She gave me such a smile. She smiled with her lips, not with her eyes. You know, one of those fake smiles. It was perfect, Mrs. Bergman. I wish you could have been there, but you know, the venue was really very small. I swallowed. Of course I understand. We sat down. I brought them my best pastries. As we talked, Sarah kept looking around, at the walls, the furniture, my antique signs. There was something in her eyes. A calculation. As if she was appraising the value of everything. "Mom," David said while sipping his coffee. "Actually, we came to ask you something." Here it comes. My stomach churned. Sarah and I want to move to a new apartment. Our current place is too small, and Sarah is planning to get pregnant. My heart leapt. A grandchild? Oh, David, that's wonderful, Sarah quickly interjected. Her voice was sharp and practical. "Not yet, Mrs. Bergman. We said we're planning. But for that, we first need a bigger place." David continued. "Well, Mom, we need a down payment for the bank loan. We thought, maybe you could help? As a temporary loan, of course." I took a deep breath. How many times had I heard this sentence? "We'll pay it back." But the truth was, the total of $18,000 in temporary loans I'd given David over the past 3 years had never been repaid. "How much are you thinking?" $15,000. Sarah's voice was as clear as in a business meeting. "We'll pay it back in 6 months. We can even make a written agreement." I looked into my son's eyes. There was a hint of shame on David's face, but not that much. As if my acceptance was expected. As if it was my duty. "I need to think about it," I said slowly. Sarah's face went cold. "Of course, but Mrs. Bergman, this is actually an investment. The house will appreciate. It'll be good for all of us." All of us. But I could sense that all of us didn't include me. In the following weeks, calls kept coming from David and Sarah. "Mom, the deadline is approaching." "We're going to lose the house. There's another buyer." I finally agreed. I withdrew $15,000 from the café register and gave it to my son. David hugged me joyfully, but Sarah just thanked me and left. But something inside me had changed. A week later, David called again. "Mom, we have a problem. The furniture loan wasn't approved. A bit more." "No, David." "What?" "No. No more money." "But, Mom—" "No!" My voice was trembling but determined. "I'm sorry, darling, but you need to stand on your own feet now." The phone closed with a cold silence. That evening, I went down to the basement. My husband Heinrich's belongings were still there. He had passed away 2 years ago from a heart attack. The doctors said it was sudden. But Vera sometimes wondered, was it really sudden? Heinrich had changed so much in his last months. Weak, forgetful, sometimes vomiting. Doctors said it was old age, but Heinrich was only 72. He was a fit, strong man. While going through old photo albums, I came across a box. Inside was Heinrich's old phone. A device with a cracked screen. An old model. Curiously, I plugged in the charger. The phone vibrated, turned on, and I held my breath at what I saw on the screen. A voice recording. Date. 3 days before Heinrich's death. My finger hovered over the play button. My heart felt like it would explode from my chest. I pressed it. Heinrich's voice, in a whisper. "Vera, if you're listening to this, it means it's too late. There's something I couldn't tell you. I was scared. Maybe I was paranoid, but David asked me for something. He wanted me to change my will, to leave him the café. I said, 'Son, the café will be yours anyway.' But he wanted it now. Mom's getting old, Dad. You're getting old too. Let us manage it. he said. I didn't agree, Vera. And then... The voice cut off. Coughing sounds. Then everything changed. I'm feeling sick. Worse every day. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm not. But Vera, please be careful. Don't trust him. Don't leave him the cafe. I changed the documents, gave them to the notary for safekeeping. But if I'm gone, please be careful. The recording ended. Tears streamed down my face like a flood. The phone fell from my hands. Please be careful. Too late. Too late. Heinrich had warned them. And now I had discovered $15,000 missing from the register. It couldn't be a coincidence. I slowly stood up. My legs were trembling, but my mind was clearer than ever. I went upstairs, sat at the kitchen table, and pulled out a notebook. I began to write suspicious events. David didn't invite me to the wedding. Sarah's coldness, calculating looks. Constant money demands $15,000 missing from register. Heinrich's voice recording Heinrich's mysterious illness and death. I put down the pen and looked out the window. The rain had stopped. The streets were quiet and wet. "All right, my son," I whispered. "If we're going to play, let's play the game right." The next morning, my first action was to open my phone and search for a name. Private Detective Martin Keller. The war had begun. I met with Martin Keller a week later, at a small cafe outside the city, where no one would recognize us. He was in his 50s, plainly dressed, with sharp eyes. The moment we met, I felt that his eyes saw everything. Me, my anxiety, my fear, my anger. "Mrs. Bergman," he said as I sat down, "you told me very little on the phone. Please tell me from the beginning." And I told him. Everything. The wedding, the money, Heinrich's voice recording. As I spoke, my voice cracked and my hands trembled. But Keller just listened, took notes, didn't judge. "I understand," he finally said. "Now I'm going to ask you a few questions, and please be honest. What does David do for work?" "Marketing consultant. He's freelance. What's his income, do you think?" I hesitated. "I don't know. We never talked about it, but he's always saying he has no money." Keller pulled out a small notebook. "Mrs. Bergman, before I start investigating, I need to tell you something. Sometimes the answers we find aren't the answers we want to hear. If you proceed, you may learn things that... Your family may never be the same again." I looked into his eyes. "Mr. Keller, if my son is truly innocent, I want to know that. But if he's not, I need to know that too. My husband is dead. I'm not at peace." He nodded. "All right. Give me 2 weeks. There's something else," Keller said. "David met with a lawyer, several times." "What for?" Keller silently handed me a document. It read, "Mental Competency Evaluation and Guardianship Case Preliminary Consultation." "What does this mean?" I asked, though I actually knew. I just didn't want to accept it. "David and Sarah were considering filing a guardianship case, claiming you're not mentally sound, that you can't make decisions. If they win, they could control the cafe and all your assets. Do they want to declare me insane?" My voice rose. A few people in the cafe turned to us. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. But inside, I was burning. "Continue." "The lawyer told David this case would be difficult. Because you still actively manage the cafe, you have customers. Your financial situation is good." "But David said, we'll convince them over time." I don't know what he meant, but... "I know," I said. My voice was ice cold. "Just like they convinced my husband." "Mr. Keller," I said, "I need to talk to you about my husband's death. The official report says sudden heart attack. But Heinrich was very sick in his last months. He was vomiting, weak, experiencing memory loss. Keller frowned. What did the doctors say? Old age. Natural process. But you don't believe it? No, especially not since I heard that voice recording. Keller thought for a moment. Mrs. Bergman, my advice is this. Have Heinrich's body exhumed, meaning taken from the grave and autopsied. If there really was poisoning, traces may still remain. My heart tightened. Open my husband's grave? If you want justice, yes. 2 weeks later, the toxicology report came. I sat in my living room across from Keller, afraid to open the envelope. Should I open it? He asked. I shook my head. I knew I needed to open it myself. I pulled out the papers inside. Medical terms, charts, graphs. But there was one sentence, marked in red pen. High levels of arsenic detected in blood samples, consistent with chronic poisoning. The paper fell from my hand. Arsenic? I whispered. They poisoned him. Keller silently placed his hand on my shoulder. Mrs. Bergman, it's time to go to the police now. No! I jumped up. Not yet. Is the evidence enough? Is there direct evidence that David did this? Not yet, but then we need more evidence. Otherwise, my son will claim he's innocent and run. I won't give him that chance. What do you want to do? Keller asked. I want to listen to them. They'll come to my house, I'm sure. And they'll talk. People talk when they feel safe. Keller hesitated. This may not be legal. Can't I use an audio recording device in my own home for my own safety? He smiled, for the first time. I understand. So be it. 3 days later, we placed tiny microphones and cameras in every corner of my living room. Invisible. Silent. And then I called David. My son, I said, making my voice tremble, showing myself as old and tired. Can you come? I'm not feeling well. We need to talk. Mom, what happened? Please come. I'm alone. I'm scared. That evening, David and Sarah came. We sat in the living room. I tried to look weak. My hands were trembling. This time for real. Mom, what's wrong? David asked with concern. Or pretended to be concerned. I don't know, darling. I'm forgetting things. I go to the café. I don't remember why I went. I open the register. I forget the code. Maybe the doctors are right. Maybe I'm getting old. I saw a glint in Sarah's eyes. Hope? Excitement? Mrs. Bergman, Sarah said in a soft voice. Maybe it's time to rest. The café is very exhausting work. Yes, but the café is my life. What would I do without it? David leaned forward. Mom, we can help. Let us manage the café. You just rest. Retire. You've earned it. You think so? My eyes welled up. Would you really help? Of course, Mom. David held my hand. That warm, familiar touch. But now it felt different. Fake. We're here for you. After they left, Keller played the recording. David's voice. Did you see? She's losing it. I knew it. Sarah's voice. Perfect. We get the doctor's report. File for guardianship. 6 months and the café is ours. David. But what if Mom objects? Sarah. She won't. Too old. Too tired. And anyway, she forgot what happened to her husband. Could happen to her too. Silence. Then David's voice. Very quiet. We're not going to do it, right? I mean, to her. Sarah. Whatever it takes. The recording stopped. I was crying. Keller was crying. My son. My own son. Let's go to the police now, Keller said. No, I said. I wiped my tears. Not yet. There's one more plan. Keller looked at me in shock. Mrs. Bergman. They'll come to my house. They'll cook me food, give me drinks, and I'll record everything. I'll trap them. I'll make them show their true faces. This is too dangerous. They killed my husband, Mr. Keller. They're planning to kill me, and I won't just sit and wait. I stood up. I wasn't crying anymore. With hands that no longer trembled, I gathered the files. As a mother, I wanted to trust my son one last time. But I'm no longer a mother. Now I'm a warrior. I looked out the window. The moon was shining. And they don't know it yet. But the storm is coming. Keller and I worked on the plan for 3 nights. Coffee-filled cups, notepads, maps. It was like planning a military operation. And in a way, it was. "Do you understand the risk?" Keller asked for the 20th time. "I understand," I said. "But there's no other choice. If I just go to the police, the voice recordings alone might not be enough. They'll say we were joking. They'll say we were exaggerating. But if we catch them in the act..." "Catch them poisoning you," Keller completed. "Yes." He nodded. "All right. But you won't eat anything. You won't drink anything. Agreed?" "Agreed." The plan was as follows. First, I would call David and Sarah again, saying, "I'm very sick. I can't cook." They would offer to bring me food. I was sure of it. The house would have microphones, cameras, everything ready. Keller and the police would wait nearby, coming when I gave the signal. I would pretend to eat the food, but actually wouldn't eat it. I would make them talk, until they confessed. It was dangerous. It was crazy. But it was my only option. Thursday morning, I called David. I made my voice as weak as I could. "David, son." "Mom, are you okay? Your voice sounds bad." "I'm not well. Very tired. Can't get out of bed. Dizziness. Nausea." "My God! Should I call a doctor?" No, just, I'm alone. Can't cook. Maybe you and Sarah." "Of course, Mom. We'll come right away. Sarah makes excellent chicken soup. It'll be good for you." Chicken soup. Of course. You can mix anything into soup. No one notices. "Thank you, darling. 6 o'clock, okay?" "Perfect. Don't worry, Mom. We'll make you better." I hung up. My hands were trembling, but this time not from fear, from anger. Keller came in the afternoon. He brought along a technician friend, Mike. They placed hidden cameras and microphones throughout my house. "Sit at the kitchen table," Mike said. "The cameras will see you and them clearly. This button," he showed me a tiny button, "is your panic button. If you feel any danger, press it. Police will be here in 45 seconds. I attached the button inside my dress, next to my heart. "Where will the police car be?" I asked. 2 blocks away. They can't see them, but they'll hear everything through the radio. I'll be in the house next door, Mrs. Patterson's house. She's at her niece's today." I nodded. Mrs. Patterson, my neighbor. I'd explained the situation to her. Her eyes had filled with tears. "Vera, he's your child. How could he?" She'd said. I didn't know. I still don't. At 5:30, Keller and Mike left. I was alone in the house. The silence was deafening. I went to the kitchen. I looked at Heinrich's photograph, hanging on the wall, smiling. "Oh, I already ate at home," she said quickly. Too quickly. "You eat." David didn't take a bowl either. "I'm full too," he said. "We had sandwiches on the way." Of course you didn't eat." I dipped the spoon into the soup, lifted it, brought it close to my lips. They were both watching me, their eyes locked onto the spoon. I brought the spoon to my mouth, but At the last moment, I coughed. The soup spilled onto the table. "Oh, sorry," I said. "A cough caught me. How clumsy." "It's okay, Mom," David said immediately. He handed me a napkin. "Let's clean up. Take another spoonful." Sarah filled a new spoonful. "Slow this time," she said. There was a strange urgency in her voice. I lifted the spoon again. This time I brought it to my mouth, but didn't swallow. I held it on my lips, then spit it into the napkin. "Oh my God," I said. "My stomach can't handle it. I think I'm going to be sick." I immediately stood up, pretending to rush to the bathroom. I closed the door. I washed my mouth. I took a deep breath. Through the listening device, voices came. "Sarah, she's not eating. What are we going to do?" "David, be patient. She's sick anyway. She'll eat soon." Sarah, "David, this is our last chance. If this doesn't work..." David, "It will work. Just wait." I came out of the bathroom. "I'm sorry," I said. "My stomach really can't handle anything." "Mom," David said softly. "Please, we made it for you. Just a few spoonfuls. Strength for you." He looked into my eyes, that familiar, loving look, an echo from the past. But I no longer believed him. "I'm very tired," I said. "Let me lie down. Maybe I'll eat later." "Mom, no," Sarah said harshly. Then she softened. "I mean, eat first, then lie down. Otherwise you won't have the strength to endure." "Sarah's right," David said. He held my hand. "Mom, please, for us." And at that moment, that strange, painful moment, I understood. My son really wanted to kill me. Just for money. Just for the café. Tears filled my eyes. Real tears this time. "David," I said, "I'm going to ask you something. Be honest." "Of course, Mom. Do you love me?" He hesitated. Just for a second. But that second was everything. "Of course I love you, Mom. What a ridiculous question." "Then why?" My voice trembled. "Why didn't you invite me to the wedding? Why do you always come for my money? Why—" I stopped. I was going to tell him. I had to tell him. "Why are you trying to do to me what you did to your father?" Time froze in the kitchen. David's face turned white. Sarah jumped up. "What do you think you're saying?" Sarah screamed. "You killed your father," I said calmly. "Arsenic poison. Slowly. And now you're trying to do the same thing to me." "You're crazy!" Sarah shrieked. "You're a sick woman. You're hallucinating." But David said nothing. He just sat there, head down. "David?" Sarah looked at him. "Say something. Tell your mother she's being delusional." David slowly raised his head. There were tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Mom," he whispered. "What?" Sarah couldn't believe it. "David, what are you doing?" "I'm sorry," David said again. I didn't want to, but we had debts. Sarah was pregnant." "I wasn't pregnant!" Sarah screamed. "I lied. To get money from you." Now David turned to her. "What? For money?" Sarah was screaming now. "It was all for money. I don't love you, David. I never did. I just wanted your mother's money." David jumped up. You lied to me. Everyone lied to you." Sarah laughed. A crazy laugh. "Your mother, me, everyone. Because you're weak, David. You're a weak man." And David, poor foolish David, bowed his head and began to cry. I just sat there watching. My family, shattered. I pressed the button in my pocket. 45 seconds later, the door burst open. "Police! Hands up!" 4 police officers rushed in, guns drawn. Keller behind them. Sarah tried to run. She ran to the window. But an officer caught her. "Let me go! I didn't do anything!" David didn't resist at all. He held out his hands. He didn't say anything, even as they put the handcuffs on. Keller came to me. "Are you all right?" I nodded. "I'm fine." One of the officers took the soup. "We'll send it to the lab. If there's poison in it." "There is," I said. "I know there is." As David was being led to the door, he turned. He looked into my eyes. "Mom, Go," I said. My voice was stone. "Go and never come back." They took them away. Sarah screaming, David silent. And I sat there, at the kitchen table, the cooling soup in front of me. Keller placed his hand on my shoulder. "Vera, you're very brave." "I'm not brave," I said. Just very tired." And I put my head on the table and cried. I cried harder than I had in a very long time. Keller stayed at the house. He made tea, brought a blanket. Didn't talk, just sat. At 2 a.m, the phone rang, from the police station. "Mrs. Bergman, the lab results are in. High doses of arsenic were detected in the soup. Enough to kill." "Thank you," I said, and hung up. Keller looked at me. "What will you do now?" I looked out the window. The city was sleeping, but I felt like I'd never sleep again. "There will be a trial," I said. "I'll testify. I'll see them in prison. And then I'll continue with my life, because they wanted me dead. But I didn't die. I'm standing, and I will keep standing." The first lights were beginning to appear in the sky. A new day, a new me. The trial began 3 months later. Those 3 months were a foggy corridor for me. Meetings with lawyers, police statements, psychologists, journalists. Everyone wanted to ask something. Everyone wanted to hear my story. But I just waited quietly. For Justice Day. When the trial day came, the courtroom was packed. Journalists, curious onlookers, neighbors. Mrs. Patterson sat in the front row, ready to hold my hand. David and Sarah sat in the defendants' chairs. David's face was pale. He had lost weight. Sarah, however... Sarah still had that cold expression, as if all of this were just a game. The prosecutor stood up. "I call Mrs. Vera Bergman to the witness stand." I walked, step by step, the most important walk of my 55-year life. I sat in the witness box. Everyone in the courtroom was looking at me. "Mrs. Bergman," the prosecutor said gently, "please tell the jury what happened that night." And I told them. "My son came to kill me," I said. My voice was calm, clear. He brought poisoned soup in his hands. Looking into my eyes, he said, "I love you, Mom." And he tried to kill me. There was a deep silence in the courtroom. "Do you know why he did this, Mrs. Bergman?" the prosecutor asked. "Yes," I said. "For money, for my café, for my life. They had killed my husband Heinrich the same way, 2 years ago, slowly making him suffer. And I just kept loving my son as a mother. I trusted him. I believed in him." My eyes filled with tears, but I didn't cry. I was past the age of crying. "And that night, when you ate the soup..." "I didn't eat it," I said, "because I knew. I was no longer blind, no longer naive. I broke their game and called the police." The prosecutor turned to the jury. "Mrs. Bergman acted bravely. Risking her own life, she ensured justice." Then David's lawyer stood up. Young, suited, a cold man. "Mrs. Bergman, don't you think your son has psychological problems? Maybe he was under influence. Maybe he was manipulated by Sarah." "No!" My voice rose, for the first time. David was a grown man. He made his own decisions. He poisoned his father with his own hands. He lied to me with his own mouth. Don't show him mercy, because he never showed me any. The lawyer stepped back. Then David stood up. He looked at the judge. "May I speak?" The judge nodded. David turned to me. His eyes were red. "Mom." His voice trembled. "I know asking for your forgiveness is too much. I know what I did was horrible. But I'm still your son, and I love you." Everyone in the courtroom held their breath. I looked at David, long and hard. I tried to see my baby, but I couldn't find him. There was only a stranger before me. "David," I said slowly, "you are no longer my son. That child died, by your own hands." And I turned. I stepped down from the witness stand. Never looking back. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. At 4 o'clock, they returned. "Guilty or not guilty?" the judge asked. The jury foreman stood up, an elderly woman. Her eyes were wet. "On the charge of murdering Heinrich Bergman, guilty. On the charge of attempted murder against Vera Bergman, guilty!" Sarah screamed. "No, this is injustice!" David just bowed his head. The judge struck the gavel. "David Bergman, I sentence you to life imprisonment. Parole eligibility after 25 years. Sarah Bergman, I sentence you to life imprisonment. Parole eligibility after 30 years. It was over. They took them away. Handcuffed. Sarah screaming, David silent. I sat there, Keller beside me. "Vera," he said, "justice has been served." I nodded. "Yes, but justice doesn't bring back what's lost." Heinrich wouldn't come back. My son, my old son, wouldn't come back. But I was still here, and that had to be enough. When I left the courthouse, there was a crowd outside. Journalists, cameras, microphones. "Mrs. Bergman, how do you feel?" "Mrs. Bergman, will you forgive your son?" "Mrs. Bergman, what will you do now?" I stopped. I looked at them, and I said, "I will continue with my life, because this was the war I won, and now it's time to win the peace." That night when I returned home, the cafe was dark. It had been closed for 3 months. I opened the door. I went inside. Smell of dust. Silence. But underneath there was still the smell of bread and vanilla. Heinrich's smell. I went to the kitchen. I turned on the oven. I found Heinrich's old recipe, cherry strudel. And that night until 2 in the morning, I made strudel, crying, laughing, remembering. When morning came, there were 12 strudels on the counter. Perfect. Golden, just like Heinrich used to make. "My love," I said to his photograph, "I'm back. And this time I'm never leaving." 2 weeks later, I reopened the cafe. But this time it was different. I painted the walls. No longer the old cream, but a bright yellow. I bought new tables. I made a new menu. And I hung a sign on the door. "Bergman's Cafe and Bakery in memory of Heinrich. Here we serve love, trust, and second chances." Opening day, there was a crowd. Neighbors, old customers, new faces. Everyone was curious. They wanted to see that brave woman. But I was just a woman, making her pastries, smiling at her customers, surviving. Mrs. Patterson was the first to arrive. She hugged me, cried. "Vera, I'm so proud of you." "I'm proud of myself too," I said. And for the first time, I really felt that way. Throughout the day, customers came. Some knew my story, some didn't. But they all said the same thing. "These pastries are amazing." And I smiled every time, because those pastries weren't just food. They were my victory. 3 months later, I made a decision. I called my lawyer, Mr. Weber. "I want to start a foundation," I said. "Its name will be the Heinrich Bergman Justice Foundation. It will help victims of family abuse, especially the elderly." Mr. Weber smiled. That's a wonderful idea, Mrs. Bergman. And, I said, let's also open a psychological counseling hotline. Because I realized too late. Maybe others can realize earlier. We opened the foundation 6 months later. A small office, 2 volunteers, a lawyer, a psychologist. But in the first month, 47 people called. 47 people who were being abused by their families. And I listened to every one of their stories. I cried, I gave strength, I guided, because I was no longer just Vera Bergman. I was a voice for those who break their silence. A year later, I went to Heinrich's grave. I had placed a new headstone. It read, Heinrich Bergman, 1953, 2023. Beloved husband, good man, just heart. We found justice, my love. Rest peacefully now. I knelt by the grave. I left flowers, his favorite yellow roses. Heinrich, I said, I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you. I didn't believe you, but I avenged you. David is in prison. Sarah is in prison, and I'm still here. The wind blew gently. Leaves rustled. And inside me I felt a strange peace. As if Heinrich had heard, had accepted. I will always love you, I said. But I won't mourn anymore. Because you wouldn't want that. You would want me to live. I stood up. I touched the headstone one last time. And I walked. Toward the sun. That evening, Keller came to the café. He came often now. He had become a friend. Vera, he said while sipping his coffee, I want to ask you something. Go ahead. Do you regret it? I mean, turning David in, imprisoning your own son. I thought for a long time. Really thought. No, I finally said, I don't regret it. Because he was no longer my son. He was a murderer. And I never learned to show mercy to murderers. Keller nodded. You're a very strong woman. I wasn't strong, I said. I was just desperate. And desperate people do the bravest things. Keller smiled. And now? Are you still desperate? I looked out the window. The sun was setting. The sky was pink and orange. Beautiful. Life was beautiful. No, I said. Now I'm hopeful. In the following months, my cafe grew. Not just a bakery, but a community center. Wednesday was seniors meeting. Everyone would come, drink tea, chat. Many were lonely. Many had experienced losses like mine. Saturday was children's workshop. Small children would come, make cookies, have fun. One day a young woman came, about 30 years old, fear in her eyes. Are you Mrs. Bergman? The one I saw on television? Yes, I said. Please sit down. She sat. Her hands were trembling. I'm someone like you, she said. I mean, my family, my husband, treats me badly, and I don't know what to do. I held her hand. First, let's have some tea, I said. Then we'll talk. And I promise you, you're not alone. That day, I talked with that woman for 3 hours. I gave her a lawyer's number, a shelter address. Courage. A month later, that woman came back. This time, she was smiling. I left, she said. I moved out. I'm free. And I cried with her, tears of happiness. A year later, it was my 56th birthday. We had a small celebration at the café. Keller, Mrs. Patterson, customers, friends. When I cut the cake, everyone applauded. Make a speech, Vera, Mrs. Patterson said. I stood up. I looked at everyone. At these people. These beautiful, supportive people. A year ago, I said, I was about to die. Not just physically, spiritually too. My family had tried to kill me. People I trusted had betrayed me. And I didn't know what to do. Silence. But then I made a decision. I decided not to die. I decided to fight, and I won. Applause. Now I'm here. I'm 56 years old. I don't have a husband, I don't have a son, but... I smiled. But I have a family. You're here. And that's enough. Everyone stood up. They applauded, they cried, they hugged. And at that moment, I understood. Family wasn't blood ties. Family was love ties. Now, after telling this story, I want to tell you something. Maybe you're in the same situation as I was. Maybe your family treats you badly. Maybe your loved ones are using you. Maybe you're staying silent because they're family. But let me tell you this. Family is not an excuse for you to suffer. Real family protects you, loves you, respects you. If your family doesn't do that, they're not your family, and you're free to leave them. I started over at 55 years old. You can too. It's never too late. And remember, silence is complicity in crime. If something's wrong, speak up. If someone's hurting you, run. If you want justice, fight. I am Vera Bergman. I'm 56 years old. I'm a murderer's mother. I'm a murder victim. I'm a warrior. I'm a survivor. And if I could do it, you can too. Now I'm standing in front of my café. The sun is shining. Customers are coming. Life goes on. Heinrich's photograph is still on the wall. He's smiling at me. We did it, my love. I whisper. We did it. And I walk inside. A new day, a new strudel, a new hope. Because I am Vera Bergman. And I am standing.